The following YouTube stream has been approved for restricted audiences only by the host out of respect for you. It will definitely contain strong graphic language and maybe some adult themes. Almost certainly.
Good evening, happy Friday, and welcome back to Last Call, where I just want to have a drink, decompress from the brutal week, and hang out with some really good friends. No, really, that's it. It's not a joke. I really mean that. I really consider all of you really good friends. So thanks for joining me. And tonight, as really always, you can very much influence the course of tonight's conversation. I mean, I hope you want to engage and participate, but tonight I do want to focus on the positive. I know we have a lot in pop culture to be depressed and annoyed about, but I feel like we've turned a corner and things are going to get better. In fact, in many ways, they already are. So top off your glasses, settle in and relax. The Canarble Wagon rolls right after, well, a couple things here. Sit tight. This week's drink was very generously purchased for me by Lester San Jose, who specified a plum brandy. I'll tell you more about it in just a moment, but if you want to buy me a drink for next week, the link is in the description below and pinned to the top of the chat to the right. Thank you so much, Lester San Jose, and salud. Salud. Okay, well, you know how this goes. I'm still resisting singing Brandy by Looking Glass, so I did a little research. I found another song called Brandy, this one by Scott English, and it was recorded the year I was born, 1971. But you may never have heard of this song before. It reached number 12 in the UK single charts, but it never made it past the lower portions of the top 100 in the US. That is until the song was covered by another singer-songwriter in 1974. You see, the aforementioned Looking Glass song hit number 1 in the US in 1972. So when the Scott English song was recommended to the artist, the decision was made to change the title and the lyrics a bit, which may seem presumptuous, but as he is said to be the someone who he writes the songs that makes the whole world sing, I guess it's okay. Lester San Jose, I bring you Mandy as sung by Barry Manilow. I remember all my life raining down as cold as ice, shadows of a man, a face through a window, crying in the night goes into morning, just another day. Happy people pass my way, looking in their eyes, I see a memory. I never realized how happy you made me, oh Mandy. Well, you came and you gave without taking, but I sent you away, oh Mandy. You kissed me and stopped me from shaking, and I need you today, oh Mandy. Standing on the edge of time, I've walked away when love was mine. caught up in a world of uphill climbing. The tears are in my eyes and nothing is rhyming. Oh, Mandy, well, you came and you gave without taking, but I sent you away. Oh, Mandy, you kissed me and stopped me from shaking, and I need you today. Oh, Mandy. Yesterday's a dream, I face the morning, crying on the breeze. The pain is calling, oh Mandy. Well, you came and you gave without taking, but I sent you away, oh Mandy. You kissed me and stopped me from shaking, and I need you today, oh Mandy. You came and you gave without taking, but I sent you away, oh Mandy. You kissed me and stopped me from shaking, and I need you. Didn't think I was going to go for that high note, did you? Salute. Yeah, I gotta admit, I was a little bit nervous about that song, but you know, this makes it sound better in my ear anyway. But what all that really leaves though is
my question first, and answer true, because you know I'll know. Why Mandy? Well, I know the words. I kind of think it's pretty. And it is, you great big sap.
Oh, I couldn't do that song and not play that little clip. Let me start by she's had to put up with me rehearsing this song, so let me mute her. How you doing, Netter? And what are you sipping on?
I'm doing okay now that the week is finally over. I actually figured out that last week I did 7 hours of overtime, and this week I did 5 hours overtime. So it's been 2 very long weeks, but my overtime paycheck is gonna be sweet once I get it.
Yeah, and you know, I don't make as much as she does, and I'm a contractor, so any days that I take off or there's holidays, I don't get paid for that. So yeah. It works out nicely, but I'm kind of a kept man.
Yeah, it's like I'm the one who buys him all his toys.
You bring home the bacon and I fry it up in the pan.
Yeah, I'm drinking a Diet Dr. Pepper, and I know next week I am going to need a much heavier drink because we just lost our temp who did a great deal of work in my department, and so I'm going to be feeling it next week.
It all falls on you. That's always the way it is. But yeah, speaking of, it all falls on you. Hey, Boomer, welcome to the stream. How you doing, my friend? It's been almost a day since I've talked to you last.
I'm doing fine. You can catch me if you check out Netter's Network's Thursday Things. I was on last night with her.
Yeah, like for over an hour. That's why I didn't feel bad keeping you waiting tonight.
Whatever. Have you ever seen the movie Mandy with Nicolas Cage?
That sounds familiar. I'm sure I probably have.
You may want to check it out sometime if you haven't. It's
okay, absolutely.
It's an interesting, violent little flick. Okay,
a violent little flick. Okay.
Yes.
So, what are you sipping on?
I have a Coca-Cola and some tap water.
Okay. Well, I as you guys all know, Lester San Jose, thank you so much for this plum brandy. You see it right here over my shoulder. What it is it's let's first. I don't speak any Slavic languages, so bear with me. I know I'm going to mess up the pronunciation. It is a Slivovic or Slivovica, which means fruit brandy. In this case, plum brandy. It's from the Flores distillery in Kragujevac, Serbia. It's called Zuta Osa, which means yellow wasp. And now as I'm looking at the amber color, I'm like, okay, I see that. Yellow, and it's definitely got a little bit of a bite to it.
A bite?
There's a sharpness to it. It's brandies are they're kind of a wine, in this case a plum wine, so to speak, but it's aged in oak barrels, usually that had at one time contained whiskey or some other kind of rye alcohol. So it's got that kind of woody hint to it. Not as sweet as you might expect from something called a plum brandy. Brandies aren't really as sweet as most people think. Some of the cheaper, sugar-infused, mass-marketed brandies are, but this is actually very, very good. I'm really enjoying this.
Well, it sounds tasty.
So absolutely, Lester San Jose, thank you so much, and let me get to the chat. You guys have been so patient, putting up with my terrible singing and whatnot. Wow, there's a lot of chat going on here that I've got to go back through. So I think the first one that I'm seeing is Big Al of Big Al Presents. Be hanging out with you tomorrow night, buddy, watching Reptilicus. That's going to be a lot of fun. He says, have a great stream and bottoms up. Well, this is to be sipped. This isn't a bottoms up type drink, but I like how you're thinking. Then, of course, Lady Mist, encouraging me with the roses. You are so sweet. Connie Cleary, hello, everyone. And, of course, Deleted Scenes, working the blue wrench because he is so awesome, dropping all the links for everyone that he's seeing in the chat. So
yes, I will be on his stream on Sunday, The Other Side of Midnight, which I guess is kind of a Monday stream if we're being technical.
That's a good point. Absolutely.
Yeah. So after Geeky Geezers, catch me on his channel. But I'll
absolutely.
do it then,
longest running superhero RPG on Earth. Greetings. Good to see you, CK. Let's see. I love seeing you guys all greeting each other. That is super encouraging to me as well. It tells me we've got ourselves a good community here. And then we got this guy. Hanging out with him last night.
Got you talking about Infocom games. Or was that Netter that started that conversation?
Exactly. Well, I don't remember who started, but yeah, it was a good conversation. No, in all seriousness, though, definitely check out Netter's Network and that interview that she had with Aged Boomer. Some very, very interesting stuff. I know Netter dropped her sweetie in here, so I'm just gonna say I love you too, Netter. I must have missed it and passed it.
It was the very first comment I put in.
Well, sorry. And of course, Lester San Jose, the patron of this drink tonight. I'll be a little late. Thanks for the shout out. Yeah, because I thanked him in my community tab. But I do think I saw him show up. Good evening. Last call. Thank you very much, David Pensack. Welcome, welcome. Sir Torrin Clegane. Welcome. Is that a reference to the restricted voiceover that I had? And I don't know what Deleted Scenes is getting nervous about there, but take it easy, man. It's Friday. We're gonna relax. Gorilla Random Thoughts swinging in to say hi, but currently on the road. Okay, yeah. Don't. Just listen. There's no need to be typing and chatting and whatnot, but. We are glad you stopped by for sure. And of course, Tim Hayes, he's saying, hail, Papa Pacelli. Hail, Tim Hayes. You are You are awesome people. You definitely are. And then Lester made it home. See, so I'm catching up, you know. A lot of things happen in between. Let's see here. Big Al. And then Evelyn, someone else I'll be hanging out with. Yes, tornado warnings and alerts going off here. Keep your fingers crossed. Yeah, we got the alert over here too. For us, they're saying that the warning is for the next hour. Well, now it's half hour. So we'll see. But yeah, one touchdown in Elgin the other day. My lights just kind of flickered a little bit. Let's see here. Don't want to miss anybody if I can avoid it. Scott Westbrook. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. And I think we are now all caught up. Okay. I think we are all caught up. So yeah, did you get a chance last night, Boomer, to check out that link that Netter gave you to check out some of those old video games?
No, not yet, but I can do it now.
No. Jeez. I mean, I guess you could. I mean, yeah. The thing is, most of them have sound, and I couldn't figure out how to turn the sound off. So,
what's wrong with the sound?
Well, nothing, but if you're like streaming and you got it playing in your ear while you're trying to hear a stream, it can, you know, yeah. Not that I was doing that during anyone else's stream. Don't be mistaken.
Come on, the blips and blops are the best part.
Bloop, bloop, bloop. Dee, 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 dee. Yeah, exactly.
Remember Centipede? Remember the sound effects for that?
Yeah. Well, it was the same with what was it? Space Invaders.
It's almost the first. Is that the first song in a video game? Sort of. I don't know.
Well, you know the whole story behind the speeding up aliens, right? They did not actually intend it to get faster as you shot the aliens. It was supposed to be a constant speed, but what happened was, as there were less sprites on the screen, it freed up memory and it started the clock ticking faster. And they realized that's kind of a feature more than a bug. Let's just keep it that way, you know? And I'm like, it is. It absolutely is.
Yes.
I didn't get a chance to tell you that during the 4th, the store I work at was playing the music of 76 Trombones. So guess who ended up performing? Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, I love. Did we do a watch party of the Music Man? Have we done that yet?
We might have done it on Big Al's channel, maybe some time ago.
Big Al, let me know if we've done that rewatch. If we haven't, we really have to. And you know what, Sir Torn, you're definitely invited if and when we do get around to that. But for me, that's got to be the Robert Preston and Shirley Jones version. That's just me. But let's see. And I don't think I said hi to JPRPH1. Welcome. I know I saw you earlier, but I don't remember. Okay, so no Music Man yet. So there's got to be a 76 Trombones in the near future. I know that we talked about it. I had a stream with Sir Torn where we talked about our background in musical theater, and I can't talk about my history in musical theater without talking about, you know, almost 2 years playing in the Music Man every night, twice on Sundays. But yeah, I'll talk about that again when we do a watch party of it. But anyway, so getting back to the topic at hand, how you doing, Boomer? How you feeling about things? You feeling pretty good? You feeling like, you know, or you feel like we're living in a dystopian kind of Blade Runner type world these days?
These are, I don't know. I keep thinking these modern times, it's like the worst parts of the 1970s and the worst parts of the 1950s combined into one. That's sort of how I feel, culturally speaking and economically speaking. But I don't know. We have something. We have Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. There you go. Of course, we had Mission Impossible movies in the past, and things weren't as messed up. So
yeah, have we gotten any numbers yet on that? Have
not
you seen
yet.
anything?
I know people are waiting on the Friday numbers. So yeah.
I'm kind of wondering about that because I did see a couple tweets. Someone saying something like, "Okay, there you go, right there. Sir Torrens in a good mood. Saw Mission Impossible and he loved it." I saw someone tweet something about, like, and it was like early in the day today. It was like in the morning, saying bad numbers for the opening night. I guess they were considering Thursday night to be the opening night, and I'm like, don't people still work Monday through Friday? Usually until 5 o'clock. I mean, when did Thursday and the numbers for Thursday become some sort of a gauge for how a movie's going to do its opening weekend?
Well, not only that, but I think Paramount upped the date. I think for a while it was supposed to come out on Friday, and then I think after they saw how poorly Dial of Destiny was doing, I think they bumped up the release date for Mission Impossible, gave it a couple more days. So it could be people weren't expecting it to even be in theaters until Friday, so that could be part of it.
Anyone who, if that's the case, then anyone who pre-ordered their tickets or whatever you call it, right? You bought them in advance, had them for Friday, and then they're like, "Well, I've already got my tickets, right? So I'm going on Friday," and I'm sitting here going, even if I wanted to, the first opportunity I would have to see this movie would be today at 5 o'clock, which.
Right.
I obviously wouldn't. I was practicing to sing a Barry Manilow song, but you know what I mean. And yeah, so the weekend is really when most people have time off of work where they can go to see a movie. I don't really know how many people go, and this is why Tuesday numbers are not good for movies. Wednesday numbers usually not good for movies because. You get off work at 5 o'clock. What are you going to go straight to the movie theater, watch a movie, and get home so you can get to bed and get up the next day? Most people don't,
Big Al has a comment here. Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1 is often running at the global box office with
63 million for the first 2 days.
Now that's both North America and Europe. I'm taking, and whatever other countries it may be.
Yeah, I don't know how wide a release it got worldwide, but by all means, go check out, of course, Deleted Scenes review of it with Jedi Bill.
Yeah, but I plan on seeing that movie next week, and also Sound of Freedom. I'm going to try to catch that.
I'm going to try dragging Netter to see Sound of Freedom tomorrow, depending on how she's feeling. We got to get out and get some stuff done, and if she's feeling up to it after we get done with that, I want to go check that.
Well, that's the thing. You talk about, am I living in a dystopia? You would think that a movie with the theme of, hey, child enslavement's a bad thing, and it's a true story about a guy that tried to help the kids out, that everyone would be on the side of the message of that movie, but
well, the other thing too, someone in the community, you see tweets go by and you forget who to attribute them to. Someone pointed out that nobody had a problem with the message behind those Liam Neeson films and whatnot. A certain set of skills, and I mean, it's basically the same story, but that was fiction, so that was okay. You tell a true story and everyone gets all bent out of shape. Why is that?
I don't know.
I mean, why? No. I mean, let's think that through. Why would you be against getting the message out that there are real dangers out there for kids that we should be concerned about? Unless you are on the side of those that would put those children in danger. Just saying. I'm just saying.
It could be related to a certain man with the name Epic.
I mean, there's a list about people going to an island that we still don't have any access to, even though there is someone in prison right now. So I'm just saying. I'm just saying, you know.
But let's see, Sound of Freedom. I'm trying to think what else though. I don't know. This has been an odd summer for movies, as in I personally have not had much I've wanted to see, and I think a lot of other people agree with me. I mean, I don't know how that Transformers movie did. Maybe people like that, but
Yeah, we got to see those movies about transgendered robots, right? Oh, and I had forgotten. Yes, Big Al also did a review of Mission Impossible that you should definitely check out. Lester San Jose said, I was tempted to watch MI7 again tonight, but hey, it's let's call Troy Pichelli. Not gonna miss, especially since he shouted me out. Yeah, well, you know, this is you bought the drink, you bought the song, so you bought the song that made well, your host sing anyway. But don't know if any of the rest of you are into Barry Manilow enough to have sung along with me. But did you know that song was originally it was by someone else and it was called Brandy?
yes.
You did know that.
I think so, yeah. I think.
Wow, I'm impressed. I did
Yeah.
not know this at all. You know, I mean, talk about marketing. He puts out a song. I write the songs that make the whole world sing. You assume every song he sings, he wrote, and that's not the case. You know, I mean, but he did write a lot of commercials that you know. He, I'm a pepper, you're a pepper. That was him. You deserve a break today, so get on out and get away to McDonald's. That was him.
Have
too.
you had your break today? I remember that. They played that on the Batman Forever McDonald's superhero commercial where Batman goes to the drive-thru. Remember that? You don't?
Oh yeah, some of those commercials were really, really good.
The superhero sandwich that was for Batman Forever when that came out. You could buy you get the 4 glasses made from cut glass or whatever with the Riddler, Two-Face.
Yes.
Robin
I think I had one of those. Those I did not go out of my way to collect. I collected
I had a couple. Yeah.
I collected the Star Wars glasses, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, and that's about it. That's where I stopped. It wasn't as easy. In fact, heck, it's easier to get replacements for those glasses now on eBay than it was getting them originally at the time. You had to go to the restaurant. You had to get, I don't remember if it was a Happy Meal or you had to buy something in order to, then pay for the glasses too or whatever. And then you'd go and, no, we don't have this one. We have the one from last week. We still haven't brought the other ones out yet. Well, can you let me know? No, you got to keep coming back. It's like, oh, geez, how did we get off on that topic?
I don't know.
Yeah, Barry Manilow. That's what it was. Speaking of watching upcoming movies and shows, just found some old Star Wars EU novels I ordered on eBay, including Dark Force Rising. Yeah. There you go.
Well, here's the thing. I've gone back and I've started, I think I've told you this, I'm reading the original James Bond novels because the Bond franchise kind of went kaput with that last Craig movie, and I decided to go back to the original Ian Fleming works, and I'm surprised at how they don't feel dated, even though they were written they came out in the 50s, which is odd. And like I said, I know we're gonna have a Bond stream at some point, so
definitely.
I'm gonna keep my comments on those quiet till then.
Absolutely.
But the fact that I'm going back to old books and stuff, what does that say about modern entertainment? And that, I mean, gaming is still a mixed bag. There's good and bad in gaming, so like I said, we have to do something.
Yeah, we and I kind of talk about this a little bit in the little synopsis in the description below. But a big part of what kind of inspired this was, I mean, we do on Geeky Geezers every week. We started this whole idea of the good old days, right? And we were doing that because we realized that a lot of the things we were talking about, the majority of what we were talking about in the geeky news, was not happy news. It was usually things to grouse about. They've race swapped this person, they've gender swapped that one, and now they're deconstructing, this, that, and the other, and killing off all of our favorite superheroes like punks, and it just was. It gets overwhelming. So we would be like, you know what? Let's do good old days. Whenever possible, we'll tie it into what we're going to be talking about that night, and just point out, especially for some of the younger people out there that might not even know about a TV show or songs or whatever or movies that we loved growing up that were really great memories, video games and so forth. But yeah, and back on the Bond thing, but this applies to everything we're talking about. Having the physical media so that they can't take those beloved things away from us, right?
I do want to do a little PSA about that. The updated Bond novels have not come to North America yet. They're over in England right now. We probably will be getting those updated texts.
That's fine. Don't wait. Because
I believe it was January of next year, so you still have time.
But don't wait, because already, as soon as we heard about that, Netter jumped on eBay and started looking for those for me.
Oh yeah, and I'm
and
sure other people are
some of them are pretty pricey.
Yeah.
So get them while you can.
The James Bond books.
Yeah.
The most I paid for one was, I think, $15, maybe $18.
Yeah, and these are for used books, keep in mind.
Well, 15 for used is kind of pricey, yeah.
It is, but, some of them were, like, crazy amounts, And it's like, and she's like, do you need it to be first edition? Do you need it to be this? No, it just needs to predate, this date so that,
And actually, if you want a good deal on used books, there's a company called Abe Books.
Abe Books, yeah.
And I usually get some pretty decent deals from them.
Yeah. But Tommy, I don't know if I said hi to you earlier, but hi, and thank you for encouraging me on Twitter. I was saying on Twitter I was a little nervous about that song, but those of you that are still with me, I guess I didn't drive you away, so salute. But yeah, so that's what I was thinking. I wanted to focus on the fact that a lot of what we talk about can be, people talk about black pills and, some of these channels, all they do is they complain and, it's, it's like Mikey, he hates everything, and, right. I mean, and some Mikey channels are out there like that hate everything and talk about how bad everything is. And what I really love is there are channels that I may not always agree with, but always have a very positive, outlook.
Yeah.
One of them, I know he's here, looking at you, Big Al. Always very positive. That's why I'm always telling people definitely go check out your reviews, your 10-word reviews, your more in-depth reviews. Join us for the watch parties and so forth. Another one that kind of springs to mind is Nerd Cookies. Nerd Cookies does a lot of lore breakdowns on Dune and Lord of the Rings and stuff like that. And even though she is probably someone I agree with 99% in terms of lore and how frustrating the reimagining of lore is these days, when something is coming up, she has a way of talking about it as positively as possible and going, I'm really concerned that they might do this, that, and the other, but, I'm really hopeful this could be great. And it's like, and of course she's got that very sweet ASMR type voice, and it's like, yeah, I hope so too. I doubt it, but I hope, But yeah, so I really, and I try to do that. I try. Those of you that follow me on MeWe, I've got a group in there called the Fans Strike Back against Disney Star Wars, and I'm sharing all the Black Pill videos and the Doomcock and all that kind of stuff. And we just kind of rant and grouse about it. But I've always said that I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful they can turn this around, right? WDW Pro says this a lot, too. We're not rooting for them to fail. We want to see them succeed. They just don't, But there's always that hope. There's always that chance, right? And so what happened? When Bob Chapek took over, everyone was like, Bob Chapek's going to come in and he's going to turn things around and he's going to purge the woke and he's going to do all of this.
4D chess.
And all the 4D chess, right? And then what happened? The what did we call it?
To be fair, I think I was saying that too at one point, so I'm not even necessarily attacked.
Well, and honestly, again, I always describe this as, Plato's, analogy of the cave, right? We're living in a cave. We can't see what's going on outside. The best we have is shadows on the wall to guess what's going on out there, right? Same thing is true trying to figure out what the hell's going on over at Disney and Lucasfilm, right? All we have is these shadows on the wall. And looking at those shadows on the wall, it really looked like, for all the world, Bob Chapek really was trying to do it. He said all the right things in earnings calls and whatnot. And, the what was that line he said about the fans being our North Star? But it became very clear very quickly that other people at Disney were very much against him on this. And we saw the results of that. He did the hostage video and then he disappeared, figuratively speaking. We know what literally happened there. I'm sure he's just fine, sipping drinks on a beach somewhere, laughing at Disney right now. And then, now this one I didn't really buy into. A lot of people talking about Iger coming back. Oh, Iger's going to come and he's going to purge the woke. And I'm like, are you high? He's the person who ushered all this in the first place. And so
ESG.
What do? They double down and they double down and they double down. What were you going to say?
I forget what channel. Might have been Midnight's Edge I was watching today, and I think they had a video out. And I think one of the issues is that I think that Disney had just bought up so much stuff that they were leveraged, and in order to get those loans for the movies, they had to go with these ESG people who said you need to have all this, diversity, equity, and all this stuff in your your business and also in the products you create. So and I think that was part of it. I don't know. Like I said, the fact is we did not plan this out. We didn't, this isn't a scripted show or anything, but it just goes to show how simpatico and on the same wavelength we are. You brought it right around to that. Okay. Midnight's Edge has a video out there. Go check it out. It's not in their live section. Look in their video section where they're talking. I think it's actually a 3-part video talking about this whole ESG thing and why it's a thing and why it's affected so much of the industry. One of the things that Valiant Renegade talks about a lot, because he talks about the numbers in Hollywood. You hear these. And I think we have an above average community here. I believe that all of you already know these things that I'm going to say. This is more for the people that might come upon this video in the future. There is this idea that when you hear a movie has made $300 million, well, that's $300 million, and they only spent $150 million to make it. That was their budget. So they've made a profit. And Valiant Renegade and many of the other outlets are very quick to point out that's not how it works. Okay? When you hear that a movie has made $300 million, 50% of that goes to the cinema. So the movie company only made $150 million of the box office. And if you compare that to the budget, that's break even in this hypothetical circumstance. They are not making movies to break even. And furthermore, that is just the reported budget to make the movie. That does not count the marketing at all, which is usually 1 to 2 times above that. So if their budget is $150 million and they make $300 million at the box office, they've actually lost money. They've lost a lot of money. And when you got a movie like the Dial of Destruction or the whatever that doesn't even make back its budget, that is really, really, really bad. And then you hear, and I'm not even going to reference any other YouTubers and their rumors. I'm just going to
mention people on the set and what they say in interviews. Katie Sackhoff talking about how the budgets for the what do you call it, the concessions, what do they call that in movies?
Residuals?
No, the lunch counter where you eat.
The craft services.
The craft services, right. The craft services budget for The Mandalorian was far and away more than anything she ever saw doing Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
And then you hear other outlets starting to talk about these out-of-control budgets, and it's like, no kidding, no shock that independent films are making huge profits, and Disney is failing, and it's really, really sad. But then today, and I'm gonna at least touch on, or at least mention obliquely, a couple of things that we'll get into a lot more on Sunday. But now, by this point, you guys have all seen the pictures coming out from the next big live action remake that Disney is doing of Snow Off White. Looking forward to that one. The costume, I swear to you, looks like something you could get at Party City. It's a Party City Snow White costume. It's
part of me wonders if this is. It's like some weird stage production of Snow White you'd see where the director took liberties. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's not like the classic Hans Christian Andersen at all.
And honestly, it's like you just saw what happened with Little Mermaid. You're going to continue on with Snow White? Really? You think that's going to do better?
People will be praising the accuracy of the Little Mermaid compared to the Snow White movie coming out.
That's the problem. They get worse and worse, and it makes the previous films look good. I've been saying for the longest time, the Snyderverse has made Super Voyeur look like a really good Superman movie by comparison. It's just it's absolutely ridiculous.
They're not dwarfs anymore. They're what?
Well, one of them is.
Okay.
One of them is a dwarf.
They're all different.
But apparently they can't do dwarfs anymore because Peter Dinklage thinks it's istophobic if you cast dwarves as dwarves, I guess.
And they're not all they're not all men either. They're not all male, right? They're different.
No, I'm sure they got some of the Lost Girl boys to be in this too. We covered all that too. This whole idea of the Lost Boys. You're not all boys. So, well, I've got a video over on Rumble you could go check out. In the original stage production of which, of course, is based on the book, there's a line, Lost Boys, are there no lost girls? And Peter says, oh, no, of course not. Girls are far too clever because the Lost Boys are all babies that fell out of their prams and got lost. That's why they're Lost Boys. And there aren't any lost girls. No, because girls are too smart to fall out of their prams. If they'd just done their research, it was already there for them, their feminist message, and they blew it. They blew it. That is the problem. But honestly, we are at a point where this is not just, right-wing type people that are pushing back against this. This is everybody. When you look at how badly every from what I've heard, as the numbers are reported, not a single Disney film, Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Pixar, none of those movies have made a profit this year. And when you look at the slate that's coming up, there's no reason to believe that trend's going to change. This could be the first year where not a single Disney film makes a profit.
Well, there's still the Marvels.
Yeah. and this is, again, it's like, I understand you want Star Wars because Star Wars in the past has always been popular. We want the Marvel characters because Marvel has always been popular in the past. But then you start taking the comics that never made money, like Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel and stuff, and make movies out of them. And you go, gee, I wonder why these aren't making money. Well, did the comics make money? No, they did not. I think Ms. Marvel and Captain Marvel is on its like 35th attempt at a relaunch. It's like, quit trying to make fetch a thing. It's not going to ever happen. I got to rewatch that movie. I don't remember the line. But anyway, yeah, that's just it. And so it's not just the diehard fans. It's not just your right-wingers. It's not just istophobes that are pushing back against this stuff anymore. It's everybody. When you see something like, I don't know, a beer company, going, look, we're done. We're through with this stuff. It's like Picard, here and no farther, and, then I see Snow Off-White, and it's like, how do you think this is going to go? How did it go, with The Little Mermaid? And that costume. This is the worst part of it, right? Disney doesn't want cosplayers at the Magic Kingdom. Why? Because, it's brand confusion? Yeah, brand confusion. Because they'll look better than your costumes. They look better than the costumes you have in the damn movies. That's the problem. Real quick, let me say hi to Michael French. He comes in just when I'm getting political. He's like, and I'm out of here.
No.
I feel blessed to have been alive to witness the complete implosion of the film industry. They are completely corrupt and deserve to collapse. Yeah, so that actually could cover a lot of ground, but when you say corrupt, I'm not certain specifically what you're referring to, but I was obliquely referring to some rumors from another YouTube channel talking about Lucasfilm being audited and how there may be some something hinky going on there, which I think a lot of us have speculated for a while.
Interesting. Why would they be being audited now?
Why do you think?
You think someone's trying to get rid of a certain head of Lucasfilm, but they're trying to figure out a way to do it that's...
Interestingly, Valiant Renegade once said, the only way Kathleen Kennedy is being frog-marched out is if she, committed murder and arson and, was arrested for it or something. Well, this isn't murder or arson, but if there's embezzlement going on, that would do it. That would do it. And even if not, it's definitely a way for someone to go, yeah, so we could bring charges against you, or you could just retire. But then again, how many times have we, speculated at possible things happening and then, it doesn't, right? I will, I think we got a word missing there. I will buy this idea. Kamala Khan could have been a good character like so many other characters, but Marvel let them down by simply making them the sum of their race and religion or sexuality. Yes, this is the biggest problem with storytelling right now. And then, look, I'm gonna call it out. Mangold and all of his crap that he was spewing on social media about fans and, fans just want, these Mary Sue characters. No, you dumbass. We want the exact opposite of that. We want our heroes to be challenged, and we want them to, have a success at the end. We want to see some growth. We don't want to see them broken down at the beginning and broken down at the end and have somebody else come in and usurp their position. You are the one ushering in a new Mary Sue that nobody wants. Do you not understand how stories are told? And that's, that's the kind of thing that we're talking about. I will stand by this idea. Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, yeah. Exactly. Iger, Zaslav, the studio. Yeah, so that's another thing. And I do this whether he's here or not. Definitely check out Retro Blasting. He's got a great video talking about studio executives, right? For one, everyone said, we were just talking about a little while ago. I was talking about Chapek and Iger, and everyone saying, "Oh, this one's going to save us. No, that one's going to save us." CEOs of companies are never going to save you. At best, and this is again me trying to be positive, they might have motivations that intersect with yours because you want a good product. They want a profitable product.
It would also be nice that they also wanted a good product.
Obliquely, they do. Assuming that they are doing the job that they are supposed to be doing. If they are there to see maximum profit for their company, they're going to want a good product that all of us are going to love and be happy with. And when we're not happy, they won't be happy because they're not seeing the profits. However, lately, I don't believe profit motive has been what has been driving these companies. We'll get back to that in a minute, but that gets back to what you were talking about with going into debt and where the money actually is for these individuals. But my point is that Michael has a great video talking about, these execs are not the talent, and every single time there is something about a film you don't like, it's usually not the writers and directors, it's usually the studio, right? What was the one I was just hearing about recently? We were just talking about on a previous stream, we were talking about the post Tim Burton Batman films and how Joel Schumacher literally came out and apologized to the fans for putting out the film that he did. And it's like, really, first, you want to forgive him because of, humility, which we don't see anymore, right?
Right.
Obviously, that's somebody who cares about his product and cares about whether or not the fans liked it or not. But then you come to realize it wasn't like his vision. It was a vision he was trying to enact because that's what the studio told him to do. Warner Brothers got cold feet over the fact that the first two movies were a little too violent, a little too dark, a little too whatever. So the toy companies and McDonald's and everything said, you can't, and parent groups, oh, this is not Batman, you got to da-da-da-da-da. Despite the fact that both of those movies made huge bank, let's completely go exactly the opposite way. Let's look at what's successful and do the opposite. And what do you think is going to be the result, right? Marvel has all these really successful movies. DC says, let's do the same thing they're doing? No, let's do the opposite because we don't want to be accused of copying them. Well, you get the Snyderverse. Congratulations. That worked out real well for you, didn't it?
Well, we did get the whole multiverse storyline in that Flash movie, like we got with the last Spider-Man, right?
And you know where I am on the whole Warner versus Marvel thing, right? Marvel had farmed out its rights to all these other different companies, right? And so when they formed Marvel Studios, all these other studios had the rights to most of their characters. And it wasn't until literally they had to file bankruptcy and Disney comes along and buys them out and starts to bring some of these back together. And we followed that whole saga. Not all of them are even under Disney yet, Marvel Studios. And yet, through all that, we still got the Avengers, Whereas Warner Brothers all this time has had those characters from Christopher Reeve, Michael Keaton, all the Joel Schumacher stuff and Smallville and all the CW and stuff. And none of them are in the same canon. Not a single one. You could have 2, 3, 4 Batmen at any one given time, and they were all different universes, different canons, because they couldn't allow their peas and carrots to touch on their plate. And they had no rights problems. They could do it anytime they wanted.
They're still dealing with 2 different Batmans, though. We have the Robert Pattinson one, and we have whatever this one's going to be in the Brave and the Bold movie.
Yeah. And you'd think there'd be some marketing person going, gee, maybe we should work on some synergy between our comics division and our games division and our movies and our TV. Get them all working together. No, I think it's better that we have as diverse a cast as possible. Let's do that. That should bring the Oh, wait a minute. That didn't work for any movie ever.
Wouldn't it have made sense just for Zaslav to just... I'm not saying this as a fan. I'm just
so
saying
much for my white pill tonight, but we'll get to it.
Wouldn't it make sense just to have knocked those next two Pattinson movies out? Just here, the director, just film both of them because we're contractually obligated. Shoot them back to back and then release them, and then you can start your new DC universe with a new Batman and not have to worry about it conflicting. What do you think?
Well, whenever someone brings up that idea, yeah, it sounds like a great one. The problem is you also have contracts going on in the background, so they have
That's why I
obligations.
figured this would take care of those contracts, and then just get those out of the way.
So there's it seems that the movie studios, the ones that are trying to minimize losses, have found two solutions. One, let's just release it on our streaming service. It's kind of like throwing it in the garbage, but, it fulfills our contracts and we'll just move on. The other one that we're seeing with things like Willow and so forth is, you know what? Let's just mothball it. We're going to damage out this material. We'll destroy it. It'll never be seen again. And we'll take a tax write-off. Yeah.
Willow.
So,
we're not going to get that spin-off series, are we?
Zaslav isn't a thinker. He's a pillager. I would be fine with him being a pillager if he'd be an effective one. Look, I've said this, I've made this analogy, and I hope you don't bristle at this because I know you are a history buff and a World War II enthusiast. But FDR was not a great tactician. What he was good at was putting people in charge of things that were good at stuff. This is what we expect of an executive, right? A leader may not be good at everything, right? But they are good at finding the people who are good, listening to them, and saying, this guy knows what he's talking about. Do what he says. Except when it comes to this, because this guy's the expert. Listen to him, And arguably, that's, how World War II was won. Not that's way oversimplified because we also had Britain in there. They did some stuff too. But I saw this great historical paper when I was in college, actually, comparing and contrasting the leadership tactics, or whatever you'd call it, the strategies of FDR and Hitler. And whereas FDR did what I said, he knew what his limitations were, and he put people in charge who, were better tacticians and, knew what they were doing in terms of military. Hitler never put anyone in charge of things that knew more than he did. And he was always countermanding them. Never do a strategic withdrawal. That makes us look bad, And I'm looking at a lot of these companies, and I'm like, I'm seeing a lot of that. These egos that, get way beyond the ability to make rational decisions, Yeah. And again, Zaslav came in saying the right things. If this was a political thing, I might have voted for him. But he has proven that he's not following through on those things he said. And so, yeah, I think calling him a pillager, that's probably pretty apt. James Gunn claims that he is trying to get everything to be one thing. So new cartoons going forward are the same world. Yeah, the best you could do is take him at his word until we see otherwise. But, not past history with James Gunn, but past history with the rest of Warner Brothers is, I kind of doubt it. And we also have to go with what is the motivation. they're selling us a bill of goods, saying we're rebooting this thing, and we're going to start over again, and it's going to be a new shared universe. And we got all these plans and this and that. And then you got some other people suggesting, yeah, maybe that's not what they're doing. Maybe what they're doing is they're just putting together a couple unrelated films to say, hey, look at all these properties we own. Anyone interested in buying? If you have a very different motivation, you're not going to get what you think you're going to get from them. But, yeah, Turner Classic Movies. Yeah, that's another again that video that Retro Blasting put out that I referenced. I didn't even get into that element of it.
I thought I read something about that where there were layoffs, I believe.
Yes.
And,
yes.
That's a problem. I know that.
And we'll be talking on Sunday. We're gonna be talking about how important preservation is of things. If in your case it's video games, but
that might be a lost cause. But at least
true. But then there's Turner Classic Movies. That's important too. And yeah, those
streaming has been a. I know it's supposed to be the white pill stream, but streaming in general, I think, has been bad for movies. I think, especially with that French Connection nonsense happened recently. I know Scorsese and Spielberg and directors like that can't be okay with what they did to the French Connection. I don't know why they haven't spoken up unless they're trying to formulate a strategy of how to stop this sort of thing in the future. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So what I wanted to get to was that it just went out of my head. Oh, right. You were talking about the fact that because I was starting to go down this road with it. You were talking about Disney taking out loans to, make these big budget films and so forth because they are cash poor. The only way to make a $500 million plus, movie is to take out loans. The only way to take out loans is to go hand in hand to big financial institutions. Financial institutions like BlackRock or Vanguard. And they have deep pockets. And so sometimes they may have interests other than finances that they are trying to manage. So they're the biggest ones behind this whole, what is it, ERG, SRG? ESG, whatever the frickin', I hate acronyms, I really do. I do. Yeah. I mean, it's just say what you mean, but they're the ones behind all this inclusion, equity, and environmental and all this kind of stuff, which has nothing to do with business. Business is supposed to be, again, I need money to make my thing, to make more money. And then I will pay you back the money plus interest. And then you've made more money, and the people that have invested in you make money. And this is how the money works. This is Econ 101 here, folks, right? But they're going, yeah, but it's not just about profit. We want to see, this diversity thing push. We want to see messaging. We want to see, talk about the environment. We want to see, whatever, da-da-da-da-da.
The checklist.
And you can't talk about this, and you can't talk about that, and blah, 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 blah. And so, again, you end up with a bunch of bean counters coming back and telling the writers, we have too many men in this movie, so we got to get some women. You know what? Can't we just swap out that character with a woman? That'd be fine. And you know what? It's all way too white. Let's turn this person to a person of color. It doesn't matter. It's fiction anyway. It doesn't matter what these characters have always been. We'll just change it. It's not a big deal. And the fans get pissed, especially when for crying out loud, you swap out, I don't know, Jimmy Olsen to make him black, and we're still waiting on, what's his name? The one that took over after Hal Jordan.
Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart, yeah. We haven't had a Jon Stewart movie.
No.
We haven't had I guess we did have a John Henry Irons film, but that was an independently made film.
It wasn't Warner Brothers?
It was Warner Brothers because it was their license, but they didn't want to make it. Shaq pretty much made it himself as a passion project. And so they wouldn't let him use any of the iconography of Superman. Yeah. It's not that bad a movie, but it's nowhere near as good as it could have been if Warner Brothers had embraced it. It could have been Warner Brothers Iron Man decades ago, but they didn't do that. But they'll race swap some incidental character. There's your representation. You know what they used to call that? Tokenism. That's what they called it. There's your inclusion and diversity, But that brings me to what I wanted to talk about. This is your white pill, okay? So, and this is where I get political, but I got to talk politics in order to talk about these are things that are happening in law that are relevant to business, okay? So many of you probably have heard about student for fair admissions versus Harvard College, right? Recent SCOTUS case, right? And if you haven't actually read the decision, and all you read was the uproars on the social medias, then you have absolutely no clue what this is about. I'm going to read a couple little snippets from the decision. So, applicants that Harvard considered cutting on their LOP list, which contains 4 pieces of information: legacy status, recruited athlete status, financial aid eligibility, and race. These were things that Harvard was using to determine who stayed and who goes to Harvard and who doesn't get admission. Race is a determinative tip for a significant percentage of all admitted. That is a problem, right? Race-based admission programs violate, respectively, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Okay? So, real quick, what do those things mean? What are those laws? The Civil Rights Act of 1964, right? You cannot hire someone based on race or gender or religion or any of those things, right? And all that does is affirm the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution. It is unconstitutional to discriminate based on race, age, religion, national origin, gender preference. Really, because gender preference, what does that have to do with any job that you're going to be doing? Things like that. And this was lauded by true classical liberals as progressive and appropriate. And honestly, only the worst people in the world disagreed with this. Most people agreed that this was right. Things should be fair, right? Everyone is equal under the law, right?
But some people are more equal than others.
That's the problem. But that's what these laws are supposed to comb through, right? These admission programs violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Not permitting any distinction of law based on race or color. Eliminating racial discrimination means eliminating all of it. Any exceptions to the Equal Protection Clause's guarantee must survive a daunting 2-step examination known as strict scrutiny. Okay? In other words, if you are going, and this is true, what this basically, anytime you hear a judge talk about strict scrutiny, especially, the Supreme Court, when they say strict scrutiny, what they're talking about is before you can remove someone's constitutional rights from them, there's got to be a damn good reason. It's got to be very, very specific. It can never be general, right? If you are going to lose your Second Amendment right to own a gun, if you are going to lose your simply your right to freedom, in other words, be put in jail, you have to go through a due process. You have to be found guilty of a crime to have your rights stripped from you.
Right.
It's not just, anybody that falls under this, loses the, and this is what, going back to what I said about Second Amendment, we got the Bruin case, we've got, a bunch of others that have happened recently. Look, you can't just decide a whole class of people can't own a gun. The Second Amendment says what the Second Amendment says. And before you can strip somebody of their rights, you need to convict them of a crime, put them in jail. And then you're not just taking away their Second Amendment rights, you're taking away, Fourth Amendment rights and, other rights. Yeah, you lose, to some extent, you even lose your First Amendment rights and so forth. Because that's prison. But that's the strict scrutiny part, right? And it must be narrowly tailored to that individual. That individual loses their rights for very specific reasons. That speaks to nobody else in a similar circumstance. They would have to go through the same process. So 20 years have passed since Grutter, with no end to race-based college admissions in sight. Comply with strict scrutiny, may never use race as a stereotype or negative, and must at some point end. So any justification there was at one point for, some sort of quota system or something like that has long since passed. It is now time that every man and woman and other be treated as equal under the law. The Constitution demands it. Let me see. There was another quote. This is actually very well written. I don't usually go about reading, legal briefs and decisions and stuff, but because Harvard and UNC's admission programs lack sufficiently focused and measurable objectives warranting the use of race, unavoidably employ race in a negative manner, involve racial stereotyping, and lack meaningful endpoints, those admission programs cannot be reconciled with the guarantee of the Equal Protection Clause. At the same time, nothing prohibits universities from considering an applicant's discussion of how race affected the applicant's life, so long as that discussion is concertedly tied to quality of character or unique ability that the particular applicant can contribute to the university. What they're referring to there is anyone who's ever applied to colleges know there's a letter that you write that you kind of talk about your background and why you think you'd be valuable to the school. It's a puff piece usually, but it shows character, many universities and look, coming from a single mother, helped raise my my autistic brother, blah blah blah. These are things that I put into mine. I'm sure they take some of those things into consideration. Many universities have too long wrongly concluded that the touchstone of an individual's identity is not challenged best skills built or lessons learned, but the color of their skin. This nation's constitutional history does not tolerate that choice. So everyone that is commenting on this, the one thing they get right is this is literally putting an end to quotas. This is putting an end to affirmative action in university, university admissions, in any government, hiring practices. And by extension, it's indirectly telling private companies you can't do that either. So now, this hasn't been in the news, but I've been seeing it by following the news outlets for LawTube and stuff like that. There are a lot of cases now against companies that have been jumping in all in on these ESG, ESRG, whatever they're called, these equity inclusion, mandates by their companies, and saying, you know what? I didn't get hired by this company because you had to hire, diversely and this and that and the other, and I think I was discriminated against. And now there's just a ton of cases. And I think what we're going to start seeing is not just individual cases. We're going to start seeing class action suits against companies. And this is going to really, really hit them in the pocketbooks. But what you are seeing in the news is a lot of people talking about how people are firing their equity and diversity managers and whatnot and getting rid of those departments. Shocker. Surprise. Of course, the entertainment industry is the slowest to do that, but it is happening.
So this is where the white pill comes in.
And this is where the white pill comes in. The pendulum does eventually have to swing back the other way. People do get sick of it and they go, you know what? I'm done here and no farther. Yeah, I'm sorry. What were you going to say about that?
Nothing. I did send you a couple articles we'll talk about more on Sunday, but it's interesting that even Bob Iger is mentioning that, hey, these Marvel TV shows, maybe they were a mistake. Which, did you see that article I sent you?
Yes, exactly.
We'll get into it more on Sunday. And also, Haley Atwell did not like what they did with her character in that Multiverse of Madness
I didn't even
movie.
see it. I didn't know about it.
You watched the short. Remember the cartoon short where she becomes Captain Britain?
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And you actually said you liked that, but Steve Rogers still wants to help out, and he's in an Iron Man suit or something. Yeah. It was like a what-if thing.
It was a great story. It was the kind of thing that I think would have worked better in comics with maybe a longer format.
Well, I suspect that Captain Britain, that might have been the Captain Britain they used in the Multiverse of Madness, and of course Wanda, kills her, and it's like...
Oh, is that what she's referring to? Okay.
And I think she was mad because I think she was saying that, I like doing the voice work. I thought that was more fulfilling than being this live-action role. They just killed my character.
Okay, that's kind of a nothing burger, because what Haley Atwell's not realizing is that character was never meant to continue on. She was a one-time... That's what these what-ifs are. That's what ifs always were.
Right.
They're a one-time shot. Just imagine how things could be different, and then we move on. Yes, it is treated as part of the multiverse, but those stories don't continue usually.
Is there a what if where Uncle Ben is the one who gets bit by the radioactive spider?
No, but there is one where Aunt May does.
Okay. Well, that's weird.
It is, and it's played for laughs. Her costume... the costume she puts together is very much that kind of old woman outfit, like the granny from with the Tweety Bird, that one with the big dress and the bonnet, but it's like Spider-Man themed with the mask. And she goes out and she has like a purse made out of webbing that she hits people with and stuff. And she's got to hide it from Peter because he's so sensitive. He wouldn't be able to handle it if he knew that, she was going out and fighting crime. It's so funny. It really is. And the reason she gets bit by the spider is because the spider, instead of biting Peter at the demonstration or whatever, gets into his lunchbox and gets out at home and bites Aunt May.
Interesting.
The what if relating to Uncle Ben? What if Uncle Ben had lived? In that one, Aunt May is the one that gets shot by the burglar.
Oh no!
Yes, it's a tough story, and he goes through the whole it was my fault. I should have, and this and that. And when he gets back after beating the hell out of the guy, Uncle Ben's sitting there at the kitchen table. And he's like, Uncle Ben, I got something to tell you. And Uncle Ben pulls back the tablecloth, and underneath the tablecloth is the Spider-Man suit. And he goes, yeah, I think we need to have a talk, son. And it turns out he knew that he was Spider-Man, and then he confesses what he, fell short. And he's like, it's tragic, but you didn't kill her. But you've learned a valuable lesson. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yep, there we go.
And so he takes on a mentor role to Peter Parker. And when he goes, to try to sell pictures of Spider-Man to the Daily Bugle. The Daily Bugle is, doing all the, he's a menace, da 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 da. Uncle Ben is
Menace
like,
to society. Yeah.
he's like, is he really now? Your yellow journalism's not going to fly, and there's going to be a lawsuit. And he convinces Peter to stand up for himself. And it really changes the hero character he ends up becoming. So it's, it's a meandering type story. It still kind of gets to some of the same places, but yeah.
Okay.
But so yeah, but these stories are supposed to be one-offs, and and they're done. And where was Captain Britain going to go? Are they going to start a whole comic book line based on her? Are they going to start a whole cartoon series?
Well, I don't know. We'll get into it on Sunday.
Yeah.
But my point is that
my concern
I
was
feel like the media is finally not kissing Marvel's butt anymore. They're now starting to point out the cracks now.
Yeah, and I miss the days where it was just the facts, right? You report the news. These are the facts. You decide what to make of that, or what, and then you had an editorial, but it was, Walter Jacobson's perspectives or whatever. You knew that wasn't news.
United States.
That was one person giving his analysis of the news, but it was based on opinion. It's up to you to decide whether you agree with that or not. But we don't get that anymore. We got the news that's become the propaganda wing of the administration, slanting things the way they want them to be, until, and this is another white pill for you, the American public eventually says enough is a friggin' enough. This is bullcrap. Remember, for the past 3 years, a lot of us were called science deniers and, conspiracy theorists. And now the friggin' mainstream media is starting to go, well, some evidence is coming out about this, that, and the other. And we're all like, no shit. No kidding. Who could have foreseen this coming? Oh, that's right, me. The one you banned from social media for mentioning it. And this is, and by and large, people are really starting to pay attention. Same thing happens with the elections. People get pissed and they go, wait a minute. How do we have more, people voting in a state than are registered? How does that happen?
Magic. A whole lot of magic.
Right. And wait a minute. Can we get a signature verification? Really? We can't even get a signature verification, let alone, some sort of, ID to prove who you are before you vote. I mean, nobody believes the bullshit about voter integrity anymore. But that's a good thing. People, even the common people that I don't get into politics, are starting to wake up and go, hey, this is bullcrap, remember what I said about strict scrutiny? The ability to remove your rights and imprison you without a trial? That's what the lockdowns were, people. And that's what people are starting to talk about now. You don't just wave your hand and say, this is an emergency, you all have to be locked in your houses. No, it takes more than your opinion, or even the opinion of a handful of doctors.
You remember, it's the jab or your job?
And you know what's happened with all of those? They're all going to court, and they're all winning. They are. Every day I'm seeing another case of a company having to do huge payouts to people that they fired, giving them all their back pay because they did not have the right to fire someone for not getting a jab. Yep. And again, I see that as a white pill. This is what this country was founded on. We looked at authority and said, no, you don't get to, through fiat, just decide this for us. What was originally, it was taxation without representation. We have no representation in the British Parliament, and yet you're taxing us. So we are not going to pay our taxes. That's really what Britain was coming here for, to collect taxes. And when they showed up and they found they were getting shot at, they're like, oh, and we're going to take all your guns away from you too. And they said, yeah, we're going to war. That's what this country was founded on, and that's why the rights exist that do, so that it wouldn't happen again. And we have been complacent. And now people are starting to go, hey, wait a minute. And the Constitution's working the way it should. Legislation isn't working for us. The executive branch isn't working for us. We got to go to court. That's the last line of defense. And so far, they haven't been perfect, but they've been pretty good. They've been pretty good.
So, where do we go from here? What's going to happen? What's your predictions? What is your white bill prediction?
You know what happens when you ask that question to me. Netter knows.
What?
I want to break out into song again. Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? The battle's done and we kind of won, so we'll sound our victory cheer. Where do we go from here? Someone in the chat, where does that come from? First one gets a famous no prize. Welcome, Dee Meyer Jr. Dee Meyer Jr.?
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, once more with feelings.
I said in the chat, don't give it away.
But I'm in the chat.
When I say in the chat, I mean someone who's not on the panel.
Once more with feelings, Sir Torrin.
Yeah, once more with feelings. I'll give it to you, Sir Torrin. You get the no prize. Yeah, that's from the Buffy musical. We did a rewatch of that on Netter's Network.
What's the no prize that you're collected?
That's an old Marvel thing. Back in the letters columns in Marvel Comics, back in the Funky Flashman days. You'd get the famous no prize for, answering a trivia question or pointing something out that no one else noticed or something like that. What was that?
That was my chair, sorry.
Oh, I was like, did someone step on a dog? I didn't even know you had a dog. Yup!
Anyway. What do you think's going to happen with Lucasfilm? You're going to get these 300 million plus budgeted movies?
Well, here's the next step in the road. Okay, we're coming to the end of July. We're going into August, and in August there is. I'm going to take this as a compliment and not as you poking at me. I am real insecure about my singing, and I feel like I'm subjecting you guys to something not really entertaining, but I will take it as a compliment and say thank you very much. I super appreciate that. But the earnings call, is this our third quarter? Third quarter earnings call is coming up, or is it maybe fourth quarter for Disney is coming up in August. And they're going to have a lot to answer for. And there was a couple questions in the last one that were a little tense. And Bob Iger kind of got a little hot, and he went off script. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot worse this time, because all the people calling in are going to be beating the crap out of them. You have lost money all year. What are you doing to turn it around? Why are certain people still in charge? They may not even mention her by name. Although last year, one of the earnings callers did call and say, why is Kathleen Kennedy still in charge of Lucasfilm? That actually happened. That call.
I know that happened with Chapek. That happened with Iger as well.
Maybe it was Chapek.
It was Chapek, and he said, "Oh, she's doing a great job," and blah, and the guy said, "Why wasn't Jon Favreau put in charge of Lucasfilm?" Remember, that's what he asked. But
yeah, and unless it's people that are still trying to push agendas, the investors are not having it anymore. And so towards the end of last year, Nelson Peltz, a fairly sizable stockholder in Disney, they call him an activist investor because he actually wants to see a return on his investment. He's activist because he gets in there and says, if you don't start making money, I want a seat at the table, and I'm going to start making sure you guys start making decisions that are going to make money. And the way they put him off was they told him, we'll start paying dividends. Because Disney has not been paying dividends for 2 years now. Stockholders have made no money on their stocks because they haven't had the money. They have been in the red. And Iger said by year end we'll be paying dividends. And there's no indication that's going to be happening. There's no logical way that can happen. So you better believe Nelson Peltz and others like him are going to be coming back and saying, this is done. This is done. So that's my white pill on that regard. I mean, look, one of two things is going to happen. People like Peltz are going to take over and turn the company around, or it's going to fucking go bankrupt. Eventually. Look, there is no such thing as too big to fail. And I will fight anybody who says that there is. There is no such thing as too big to fail. In fact, I subscribe to the adage, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Yeah, it may take longer. You know, it's just simple geometry, right? You know, a short person falls very quickly. A tall person, that angle is much longer and it takes longer, but they still are going to hit the ground.
So Sony seems in a good spot right now.
Let's just say they're not in a bad spot. They've had some successes. They've had some losses. But that's better than Disney. And we're talking smaller scale, too. We're not talking huge budgets.
Well,
so,
that's the thing, though. They know how to manage a budget.
Right. So they maximize their profits, and even if they're not, huge profits, their margins are good. So so they're doing pretty well in that regard. But if Movie Bob and his recurrent stupidity is any indication, by Movie Bob, do we mean Bob Iger? No,
Movie Bob Chipman. You don't know who he is, I take it.
I don't.
He's a movie critic that used to work for The Escapist. Now he's independent because they let him go. He's kind of a woke ideologue, but he reviews movies.
Yeah.
Okay, that's about. But he's very into the Marvel movies and the Star Wars movies too. Yeah.
But so here's the thing. We find the movie industry in a very interesting time, right? We have the writers on strike. Now we have the actors on strike. In the middle of the worst year in decades for the entertainment industry. These companies are hurting. So you got a lot of people saying, oh, this is the wrong time to be doing this. Well, if you think strategically, it's actually the best time because you got them over a barrel, you press the advantage, right? But at the same time, you push hard enough, they go out of business. Look what happened to Flint, Michigan, and Detroit, The unions pushed and the companies said, we cannot continue this way. And they literally picked up and left. And now you're going to have unions say, oh, those greedy bastards. That's not what it is. I mean, it is, obviously. Because as I said, executives, business owners, companies, their job is to make money. So yes, greedy. But you don't make a decision to move a heavy industry to another state or out of the country on a whim just to raise your profits. You do it because you have no choice. You're going to go freaking bankrupt. We're talking heavy machinery. We're talking, millions, maybe billions of dollars in investment overseas before you start seeing profits again. People can't work that way. You don't do that unless you're about to go out of business. And that's what the unions were pushing the auto industry to. And that's why they picked up and left, and now everyone's out of work. And you have Flint, Michigan in the situation that it's in. You have so many people, out of work and,
right.
living on the dole because they can't get a job because there's no industry. The whole industry was based around the auto industry, and your Walgreens and McDonald's and your grocery stores were all there to support the people that work for those companies.
Yeah.
Those companies leave. most people leave. Everyone who's left behind, there's no business for them. For them to go buy their groceries. So what happens? Crime goes up, right? And the grocery stores that keep getting robbed over and over and over again, now they have to put bars on their windows and huge padlocks on their doors, and they have to raise their prices because they can't get insurance. It's called the poor tax for a reason.
Yeah.
It's not because we hate, these kinds of people and we're going to charge them more. No. In order to do business there, it's either charge you more or leave the way the other industries have. And then suddenly you have nowhere for no money to buy groceries. This is how economics works. And the same thing can absolutely happen to, say, Disney. They're not making any money. They're not making money. They take out loans. Look, even BlackRock, who's trying to, SRG the place to death, goes, well, we need you to pay those loans back. F you, pay me. F you, pay me. And then they go bankrupt.
I remember I kept coming up with excuses during Goodfellas. Yeah, but, my mom's in the hospital and
fuck you, pay me. Yeah. Fuck you, pay me. That's how it goes, and eventually you have no choice but to start selling stuff off, and if that doesn't work, you go out of business. You declare bankruptcy, sell the whole company off. Yeah. So that's kind of my my take on this. This is my white pill. Things tend to balance out unless they go completely to shit. They eventually have to turn around, and I see the signs of things turning around. I see people voting with their wallets. I see beer companies going out of business. I see Disney films not making a profit for over a year. I see the mainstream media unable to spin it anymore, because now when they try to run cover for these companies, they get ripped to shreds in social media. We're not talking about some bots and some fringies. We're talking about the vast majority of people.
Yeah. So one thing we used to cover at the beginning of Geeky Geezers was the streaming wars. Streaming services, Disney Plus. Yeah. Just Max now. This
is another one of those areas where I came into it. Okay, so look, everyone does this. They're still doing it with Disney. Don't they understand? This isn't what the fans want? Don't you understand? They don't care. They're not operating on the same motivation that you think they should be. And the same thing was true with the streaming services. We were operating on the assumption that they thought it was an intelligent, business move. And we're sitting there going, well, wait a minute, you're cutting out the theaters, which I guess kind of made sense during lockdowns. They can't go to theaters. You got to make money somehow. Well, we'll take advantage of, streaming services during these lockdowns that, will get people to, and that was. People got into streaming because they couldn't leave the house. So it was a way to see movies.
The lockdowns were the most bizarre thing. You'd have brand new movies going straight to streaming, whereas you'd have classic movies being shown by the theater owners. It's like,
because the theater owners wanted to keep in business too. Yeah. And then when lockdowns are over, what happens? People got rid of their streaming services. Well, we don't need these anymore. We'll go back to the theater if we want to see the movies. We've seen the shit you've been putting out. We may not even want to go see those movies, And it's not superhero fatigue. It's not sci-fi fatigue. It's not, it's shit movie fatigue. And we know this to be the case because people are going to see Mission Impossible. People went to see Top Gun. People went to see A Sound of Freedom. People still want the same kind of entertainment they always did. They want to be inspired. They want to enjoy themselves. They want maybe a little escapism sometimes, you know? And they want a good story. And people aren't telling good stories anymore. They're preaching. You know, we used to joke about religious films, right? Things like Left Behind and Bible Man and stuff like that, because they were just terrible preaching tools. You know, they were cringy. Well, the left has gotten that cringy too. With their, you know, forced inclusion and their swapping and their, you know, let's have half the characters represent, you know, the 1%, you know.
The funny thing is that the faith-based films, I think, have gotten better over the years because they're getting like name actors you've seen in other things, and they're usually under a label like Pure Flix or something else, so you know what you're getting. You know, I mean, but of course, in some ways, they're less preachy than a lot of the SJW stuff out there. So there's that. But
the Potawatomi says, now all the movies have been released. Funny how we haven't really heard from any of the usual suspects trying to smack down fans and disrespect them through social media. Well, Mangold was trying to, but you notice that since Dial of Destruction was released, we haven't heard a peep out of him.
I don't know. The media's been all over the place with this stuff. They were bashing the Mario movie before it came out. I remember that was going on.
Until it came out. And then they were silenced. Because you can't... You know you've lost your audience when a movie does that well. That's the thing. Jeff Mangold, or whatever the fuck his name is, that asshole. He, you know, he basically went off on a mini Ryan Johnson rant. And
why do you think Ryan Johnson went on rants like that? I don't think I'd ever seen anything like that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Pablo Hidalgo maybe was the one who was more doing the crap.
Yeah, he was pretty bad too. Yeah. But all of these people are being silenced now because it's like, look, it's not just... I don't know if someone behind the scenes is telling them to shut the hell up, but everybody, not just a small minority, not just some bots, everybody is saying your movie sucks. Look at your box office and compare it to your budget, dumbass, and then come back and tell me, you know, it's a bunch of bots. You know?
That's disturbing.
It is. But now it's right back at them, you know? It's like...
Is there one of those for Mangold?
Not yet.
The funny thing about James Mangold is that I actually liked him as a director until he went off on Twitter. Well, he made some good movies. Ford versus Ferrari, good movie. Came out, was in theaters a few weeks before Rise of Skywalker came out. And I was like, please let this still be playing when Christmas break happens, because I want to go see a good movie that is not... And
look,
instead of Rise of Skywalker,
this is another one of those Hollywood elitist, full of himself assholes, who comes in to a franchise and thinks who the fuck he is. I'm going to do my own thing with it.
Yeah,
this isn't yours to do your own thing with. Okay, when you open up a McDonald's, you do it exactly the way the franchise tells you to.
It was funny. Did you see The Founder?
I didn't, but I know the history.
Yes.
So
there's that scene because he gets people. He's trying to franchise it out, right? The Michael Keaton character, right? Ray Kroc. He's trying to franchise it out, and he says this is specifically how it's done. He goes out to visit some of the franchise owners that he sold it to, and he's getting furious. They're like selling fried chicken. One guy is eating a hamburger with a big piece of lettuce, because remember, in the beginning, McDonald's did not do lettuce on anything. And he's getting furious. It's like, this is not how we're doing this. It's the exact same way at all of these locations. That's the point of having the franchise.
Yep.
And they kept arguing with him, but the kids like fried chicken. They like lettuce on their burgers, and he was getting
then
furious.
They can go somewhere else for it. That's not what McDonald's is.
That might be what he said. Yeah, he might have said that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you want chicken, you go to the Colonel's place. You know, I mean,
Colonel probably wasn't out yet.
Probably not, but yeah, you know, yeah, that's right, because McDonald's kind of set that idea, and that's when people start going, hey, that's not a bad idea. But yeah, that's what it is. You go in, you know what you're getting. I'm not going to see a Mangold film. I'm not going to see a Rian Johnson film. I'm going to see a Star Wars film. That's not what you've been providing. Or, you know, or in this case, an Indiana Jones film.
Indiana Jones, part of me can't comment exactly on this. I haven't seen the movie. I have a pretty good idea of what it's about, but
yeah,
I don't want to see it. I really
you don't have to. That's the thing. I'm getting a little tired of all the channels that know it's shit and going, but I'm gonna go watch it for you, so you don't have to. Yeah, well, I'll bet that's where all their ticket sales are coming from, is from YouTubers saying exactly that.
Well, it's funny, with No Time to Die, I didn't see it, but I waited for it to become available. You know, I waited for my local public library to get a copy, and I watched it that way, because I didn't want to go out and give money to a movie I knew I was going to hate, which was going to be No Time to Die. But I still felt, to talk about it, I needed to see the whole thing. But it's like a double-edged sword. What was it Tom Connor says on Midnight's Edge? It's like, I get it both ways. I'll get attacked for seeing it, and then if I don't see it, they say, well, you didn't.
Well, he's in a situation where he actually works for somebody else. So right. If Andre tells him he's got to go see it, he's got to go see it. I mean, it's not like he really has a choice in the matter. Real quick, I want to say hi to Rancor Steve. Haven't seen you around in a while, buddy. It's really good to see you. Definitely check out Rancor Steve's channel. He's got a great channel. A bit more political than, well, I guess I can't really say that tonight. I've been pretty damn political tonight, but usually we don't get too into the politics. But his is a good, right-thinking channel. Rancor Steve is a man's man. Let's just put it that way. And I think you would really enjoy what he's got to share on his channel. The problem is, even YouTubers who know the film is shit, then people like Tom Connors get attacked. Yeah, exactly. What Boomer was just saying. You know, it's exactly true. That's why, I got to be honest with you, I respect the hell out of Deleted Scenes, who said, I will not be seeing any more Star Wars films. I will not be reviewing them. And he was even lined up to be on a Star Wars themed Last Call with me, and he canceled out and says, I can't do any Star Wars anymore. And I'm like, I appreciate your conviction. That is fine. And honestly, there's a lot of channels I stopped following because all they could talk about was Captain Marvel and Kathleen Kennedy, and it's like, I get it. I don't need to follow 25 channels of all the same bitching, you know? I get it, you know? And even Gary at Nerdrotic was saying, it's gotten to the point where people aren't even watching my videos about this, that, and the other. People really just don't care anymore. I'm like, yep, that's exactly right.
What you eating there?
A plum.
Oh. You're a plum about a plum. No,
I figured I was having a plum brandy. I would wash it down with a plum.
You could have had a date instead. Remember Indiana Jones and remember Raiders of the Lost Ark? Remember it's
yeah. The monkey. Bad dates. Yeah.
Why is it? Oh, that original trilogy.
Right?
Such good stuff in that original trilogy, and then I don't just make it fun.
I love, and I don't remember if it was Michael French who pointed it out first, or if it was Tom Connors. One of them pointed out something about Raiders of the Lost Ark that I never actually realized before. Mangold is bitching and moaning about all you want is for your hero to be perfect and win every time.
No,
and it's like, actually. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indy doesn't win. He basically wins by default. He lost. The Nazis won. They got the Ark of the Covenant. He was a prisoner the only reason he even survived was because he learned to be humble. He realized, close your eyes, Marion. Basically, bow before God. This hardline, doesn't believe in any of the mumbo jumbo, suddenly said, there's something more going on here. And that's the only reason he and Marion survived. Everyone else's faces melted off. And he brings back the Ark of the Covenant not because he outsmarted and was better than the bad guys. He won by default. But he had a character arc where you go, he's heroic because he was humble. He won because he failed.
What I wanted to say, though, is that, but we also don't go to movies to be depressed. And to suffer through annoying new characters, which we don't like, and are annoying the heck out of us by actresses that have yet to really be established as a leading lady.
Here's another one. Rocky. Who won the fight at the end of Rocky?
Apollo.
It wasn't Rocky. Yeah, he lost.
And then he threw himself off the Brooklyn Bridge.
No, he became a recluse, drinking milk directly from a manatee. Yeah, no.
No, my point is, I'm trying to think what would be the dark ending, and
right. No, yeah, exactly.
To depress the audience with. I'm just saying.
And his son grew up and stabbed him. Right? No, that's not how it goes. You know, he doesn't win, but he comes back in the next one. You know, it doesn't keep him down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. You know, it's and for Mangold to say something like that, he is so out of touch. It's ridiculous. And honestly, I've already said I'm never gonna go see another Ryan Johnson film. I don't think I'm ever gonna see another Mangold film.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need to. I have so many other movies. First, all those DVDs behind Netter, you know, that I could be watching, half of which I haven't ever seen, right? And there's so many others on the list that you guys are all telling me I need to see and haven't seen. I don't need to see anything that Mangold puts out from now to forever. You know?
So what is there? So you were in a white pilled place now. Is that what you're saying now? Oh wait, I have a comment from.
They call we have the dark endings, the Creed movies. I mean, that's in the metaphorical sense. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess now.
There's a perfect example. I've got all 3 of the Creed films on DVD. Haven't watched them yet.
I
haven't even watched Rocky Balboa yet.
You need to watch that before you watch the Creed movies. Mm-hmm. I watched the first Creed. It wasn't bad. I mean, I actually understood them. It was interesting how it was about Apollo Creed's son, but it was like a lost, like illegitimate son. It was interesting how they brought him into it. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, but it sounds also a lot like retelling the same story over again.
Well, here's what happened. I guess that's not spoiling. That's the beginning of the movie. I think his mother died, and then Adonis, that's his name, he ended up in a orphanage. And then Creed's legitimate, Creed's wife, not his mother, but, she came and found him in the orphanage and says, look, you're still my late husband's son. I'm going to take care of you and raise you as my own. And I thought that was kind of a nice altruistic thing she did, because she, even though he had an affair, and obviously she's not going to be okay with that, she still took care of the kid, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah. And, I gotta say this. Apollo's son being named Adonis.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yes.
I mean, that's just brilliant. I mean, it's like, think that one through. Think it through. That's actually kind of brilliant. But, so I am actually going to have to see it. But, yeah, I do think that cream rises to the top. Right? And I don't care what the media says about Sound of Freedom. It's already done incredibly well. it's gotten its message out. So it's already a success. It's just the more money it makes, the more you underscore it. You underscore it. You underscore it. I hear people talking about online. Apparently, they are going to be going ahead with a Alita sequel.
They are.
That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing some back and forth about whether that's the case or not, but it's looking like they are. If it is, just frickin' make it happen. Just go see it 3-4 times, you know, because let's face it, there won't be anything else to see. But and a lot of people are going, yeah, but no, Disney owns it. Yeah, well, it's James Cameron, right?
Right.
Disney has nothing to do with what James Cameron does because he makes it himself and Disney just distributes it. That's what happened with the last Avatar film. That's what will happen if he does an Alita sequel. You know, so there is clearly we know this. I'm not telling you something you don't know. There is a huge desire for good films, for good entertainment that leaves us uplifted, informed, inspired, or just lets us forget about the bullshit in our lives for just for 2 hours, right? You know, and
he says it's more like 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Well, start trimming that shit down unless you're doing something truly, truly epic that deserves it.
Yes.
If it's going to be a 3-hour movie, you better come out of that 3-hour movie going, 3 hours? Shoot, I didn't even know we'd gotten to 2 hours. That's how it has to be, or you shouldn't have made it 3 hours.
You know what movie that felt like to me? Wolf of Wall Street from Martin Scorsese, which I'm like, 3 hours, really? But I was not bored at all during the movie. I was glued to the set because it was fascinating. And
regardless of how long, you know, what movie you're doing, if you're doing a movie for kids, a cartoon, or, you know, a G-rated film, it better be less than 2 hours. Yep. Children cannot sit for a 2-hour film, even if they're enjoying it.
It's funny with the Mario movie. I know one of the complaints was, they wish it had just been a bit longer. And I'm thinking, no, they kept it at 90 minutes because kids are the primary audience for this thing. And they...
You know, and it's like Script Doctor said, if you get to the, you know, 1.5, 1 3/4 point, and you still have a lot more story to tell, make a second film. Cut it off, make a second film. Look, Vinny Villeneuve did exactly that with Dune. He split one book into 2 movies. We're waiting on that second one, and I think it's going to be pretty damn good. There's another white pill for you, folks. Definitely looking forward to Dune. No doubt about that one. That's why I'm hesitant to watch Oppenheimer. Not sure if there will be any suspenseful moments. I know it's a Nolan film, but it likely isn't a Dunkirk. I'm crossing my fingers. I like Dunkirk so much. And I heard someone say that Oppenheimer plays fast and loose with history. I'm like, based on what? I look at Nolan's body of work. Again, you know, when you haven't seen something, I've always said you don't have to see a movie to judge it if you have previews, if you have testimonials, and if you have a past history. And look, when it comes to anything Disney, we have the past history. We know it's going to suck. We don't need to go see it, right? Oppenheimer, I've heard, you know, some negatives, but I've seen enough from Nolan to go, I'll give it a chance. Let me soften that a bit. I will give it a chance after it comes out and I've heard some of the reviews, you know, and I hear, you know, if someone says they really do play fast and loose with history, you know me, I won't bother. I will not bother. But like Dunkirk, I did a review on Pops on Pop Culture about Dunkirk, and I went through the differences in history, and some of them were so minor. I'm like, look, they made a 2-hour movie about Dunkirk. You gotta expect them to slim some things down and stuff like that. I said, I gotta say, I was so impressed with the visuals, because there was no CG. Actually, I don't know if there was no CG, but if there was any, it was super minimal. He used real planes, real tanks, real everything, with one exception. There was one plane type that they couldn't find a good analog for, and they couldn't find an original. So he had a model plane built and mounted cameras on it and, stuff like that, and got shots of it. So it was still a practical effect, but it was a model, remote control model. I was like, man, that's pretty impressive. And you can't tell. You honestly can't tell they did it. They did it right. The one problem I have is there's that one line where he talks about thousands of men on the beach stranded, and you look down the beach and you're like, yeah, where are they?
On the other side of the beach.
Exactly. There should have been a whole lot more people on that beach, but they only had so many people, and they even had like cardboard cutouts that they moved around and stuff.
What?
Yeah. And it's like, okay, this is an example where you probably should have used some CG. Would have been fine to use some fake CG in a background shot, establishing shot showing the people on the beach. You won't have to do it again when you're in close on people and you have all your extras standing behind the people in front of the camera, But when you're going down the beach and you're looking for thousands of people, you need to see those thousands of people, That's a nitpick. That is a friggin' nitpick, right?
Right.
So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what comes up with Oppenheimer. And one channel that I'll be watching is what is that channel that I like? The History Buffs.
Oh.
Yeah. And he'll take movies and he'll take the movie and he'll take real history and he'll kind of go through it. He did that with Gettysburg. Oh, that was good. I mean, he didn't tell me much that I didn't already know, but it was still a fun watch for me because I'm kind of a history dork, nerd geek.
History geek.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Wait a minute. I don't know, man. I'm older, and now I can catch up on all the good stuff I missed. I'm going to watch Color of Money tonight, since I haven't seen it. Oh, Potawatomi. Color of Money. That's the sequel to The Hustler.
Yep.
Have you seen The Hustler? You don't have to have seen it, to enjoy The Color of Money. But I recommend that you do. There's that... You've probably seen some. This isn't like a spoiler or anything, but there's a scene where Tom Cruise is he's being cocky. He's shooting pool and he's doing really, really well, and he's dancing around to Werewolf of London, right? His hair was perfect. That was filmed down by DePaul University here. I was going to school there when they were filming. There was this little pool hall that I loved, and that's where they filmed, and that for at least that scene. And then when it was over and it was wrapped, they put up a new sign. Color of Money was shot here. I'm like, it's pretty cool, So, and the reason I hung out there was because I played pool on campus a lot, and then I'd go to the pool hall to play on the big, the full-size table. Those the ones that are in arcades are like smaller.
Yeah.
It's like you get good on those, and it's like completely different from a real tournament table. But so yeah, actually, so that's another interesting thing. When you see that scene, The Color of Money, and he's shooting pool there, I probably played on that exact table that you see him shooting on. Werewolves of London. That was another good rewatch we did. I don't remember if that was on my channel or somebody's channel, but yeah, it was. I love that movie, Jenny Agutter. Oof. But yeah. So that's that. I mean, I know that we went to some dark spots and we kind of complained about some things, but I did that because look, even the brightest picture needs some shadows for definition, right? And that's all I'm getting at. I see some I see some light at the end of the tunnel, and I don't think it's a train. You know, I think it's I think things are going to get better, and if they don't, for some of these companies, they're going to go away. So one way or another, things are going to change.
The audience, I think, is tired.
Yeah. And look, you know, build it and they will come. Make a good movie that the fans want. They will come. Make it not, they will not come. You will not get their money, and you will go out of business. It is that simple.
Fingers crossed on Ghostbusters. Firehouse.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they stick with that name. I've been watching that, and
Yeah,
they haven't firmed it up yet. But it's kind of weird though. Usually, when you come up with a code name for something, it's to hide what you're doing. You know, like what was the one for Star Wars? Blue something or other.
Yeah.
And nobody knew what they were filming. You know, and it's like, why would you tell people what the code word is? You know, but it's a cool logo. It's, you know, the hook and ladder, you know, the firehouse, and, you know, Ghostbusters Firehouse. So I mean, there is that. They've made some merch just off of that logo for Firehouse. Even if they do change it, that just means, you know, new T-shirts will get sold. You know, but anyway. So, any last thoughts on this topic about the way the industry's going and? You know,
well,
you feeling any better tonight after the things I said?
I'm maybe a little bit. I'll say that. I mean, we'll see. This strike is going to also, a lot's going to play out with the strike. I have a suspicion we're going to be in it for the long haul.
Yeah, I didn't want to get too into that because I know we'll talk more about it on Sunday. I got some things to say about that
too. I mean, you know,
it absolutely will. Some of it definitely should change. You know, it's one of those things where it could go either way. Could make some things better, could make some things worse. We'll see. But that one's going to be interesting. But we'll talk more about that on Sunday. But before then, tomorrow night, we will be, well, at least Netter and myself will be hanging out with Big Al on his channel, and very special guest from the chat and good friend of Netter and myself, Evelyn Hampton. We will be doing a rewatch of Reptilicus, a film that Evelyn has been after us to watch for the longest time. We're finally going to get down to watching. I didn't have it on DVD. I just didn't. Had a hard time finding it online, but it turns out that it is available for free on YouTube. So I pulled it down off of YouTube, and we'll be sharing it on Cosme just because if you try watching on YouTube and you get hit with commercials and stuff like that, then you're out of sync with us and everything. It's easier to just, you know. So I'll do the regular thing. I'll have the Cosme link in the chat over on Big Al Presents tomorrow night, 9 Central, 10 Eastern. Sunday. This would be
deleted scenes.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I'm doing math in my head right now. So 7 Central, 8 Eastern. Deleted scenes, unscripted. Do you know what the topic is this week?
Not off the top of my head, but I can.
Deleted scenes knows, and he could always drop the link. I'm sure.
Yes.
But it's important that you are subscribed to Deleted Scenes, that you check out Unscripted on Sunday, because it is the official lead-in to Geeky Geezers on Sunday.
Yes.
8 Central, 9 Eastern, and we've kind of been talking all night about some of the things we'll be talking about, right? We'll be talking about...
but we haven't talked about other things like Phoebe Cates' birthday. We'll be talking about that on Sunday. We have to find an article will come out that Sunday. We'll have to use that.
I cannot believe that.
60 years old.
Man, that is 60 is not what it used to be. Let me tell you, 60 is not what it used to be. But yeah, so we will be looking at the geek news next. On Sunday for the past week. A lot going on. I'm gonna put a bunch of things in topics together. We should try to just hit the highlights. Let's not read those whole articles. Unscripted is burning down the house. I'm wondering if he's going to be touching on some of the topics we talked about tonight. But there you go.
A mouse in this house?
Yeah, it could very well be. So that is Sunday. Do we have anything going on
No,
Monday?
wait. After my stream.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Outside of midnight, and I will be on with deleted scenes then too.
That's right. That is right. So it goes deleted scenes, Age of Boomer, get yourself a sandwich, and then deleted scenes again.
Yes.
So that is Sunday.
And don't forget to visit the necessary.
Yeah, hit the head, refill your drink, get back for the other side of midnight. Do we have anything going on Monday through Wednesday?
No, nothing. No
Birdman sightings this week. Definitely give him some good thoughts and try to encourage him. His back is still killing him.
Right.
Which brings us around to Thursday. Thursday, what's going on Netter's Network for Thursday Things, Netter of Netter's Network?
On Thursday Things, my special guest will be Tim Hayes.
Tim Hayes, I see you there.
I don't have the thumbnail up yet, but my creative director will be doing that shortly, and so as soon as I get that, I will put it up.
Yeah, but first I'm going to get the Sunday stream done for Age of Boomer, so just bear with me. So that is Thursday, and that brings us around to Friday. We had a topic for next week. What was it we were thinking about talking about next week?
Well, like I think I made a point. You get punished for your mistakes, not your sins in Hollywood. What was the mistake they made with Indy 5? What mistakes were made with Indy 5? Not so much what we find morally.
That's right, and I've got some things to talk about because it's not just recently. This kind of thing goes back a ways. So I got a couple movies and a couple of personalities that need to be talked about. That this could be a very, very interesting topic. Not going to be a black pill, but it is a reality check. So we'll talk about that next week. I think that's a good idea. And then that brings us, we're going to go a week and a day. So Netter's Network, Retro Cinema, a week from tomorrow. Well, later today, depending on how you look at it. What is it?
City of Angels.
City of Angels. Oh. Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one. That's is that Nick Cage and Meg Ryan?
I don't know. I've never seen it.
Oh yeah, you did.
Have I?
Yeah, it was playing at the theater you worked at when we were dating.
Okay, doesn't mean I actually saw the film, dear. I didn't watch all the films.
That may be. Well, we'll.
I never saw Fargo either.
Oh, you need to see
Fargo.
Right,
you didn't. I saw that. So what would happen is Netter and I were dating. She was working at this theater downtown. I would go. She'd get me in with complimentary pass or whatever, and I'd go and I'd watch whatever movie. There was a bunch of movies that I saw, and Netter didn't necessarily see them all, and that's how I saw Fargo was there. Four Rooms was another one that I saw there. Because of that, but I kept going back and watching that one over and over and over again. I really liked Four Rooms, but yeah. Oh yeah, it's a remake of Wings of Desire. You're right. We'll talk about that when we do the rewatch.
Don't forget prayers for the Baron's wife.
Yeah. Baron Teague's wife. He was supposed to have been on last week on Netter's Network, and he wasn't because he had to take his wife to the hospital. She's got some health issues. It looks like it's going to be a rough go for her, so just keep her in your thoughts and prayers, and we will reschedule with the Baron when he can get back with us on a Thursday.
Going to be have a reschedule.
Unless things.
Well, right now I have for the 27th.
Yeah, but if that has to change, I totally understand. So anyway, thoughts and prayers, and that's that. Boomer, any last thoughts and words?
Nothing. Maybe take the white pill. Maybe you'll feel better. And
and you'll live longer, I think.
And I'll say this. I'll give you the thing. Okay, nothing good lasts forever, but nothing bad lasts forever either. Right?
True.
That's true.
Okay, so
That's true. Go. The one thing you can bank on is change. It's not always going to be good. It's not always going to be bad, but there will be change.
But maybe after you've had enough of the bad for a while, maybe you'll get some good. Yeah.
There you go.
And this is coming from a guy who had to endure a flood and is still working or living in a house that's being put back together.
Yes.
That's right. That's
Getting
right.
better, but yeah.
Very, very positive attitude. Because really, what choice do you have, right?
Yeah, basically.
And so, Netter, you want to take us out?
Yes, but I'm moving over there so I don't sound like I'm in a tunnel and really far away.
Yep.
Okay. Hopefully y'all can hear me better now. Mm-hmm. You know what I always say? Mm-hmm. We can talk amongst ourselves, and that's all well, good, and fun. But it is so much more fun when you guys are joining us in the chat, and you're dropping the comments and the questions and the trivia and just being goofy or whatever it may be. And it doesn't feel like we're separated by miles or continents in some cases. It feels like we're all hanging out in the same room, enjoying each other's company, having a great time. And you're not just our friends. You're our family. We love you guys, and we appreciate you so very much. You can be anywhere right now, and you choose to be here with us, and that is so encouraging. So thank you so much for that. And bless you all.
Absolutely. And as Deleted Scene says, we can't win all the time, but you can't lose forever. Although Disney sure does seem to be trying. They really do seem to be trying, but it cannot continue. Eventually, you run out of other people's money, and that's not an inexhaustible supply. So anyway, that's our show for tonight. Thank you so much for not running screaming when you heard me singing, and thanks for hanging out as long as you did. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you hit the like on the way out. If you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. It's very easy to check. Just look at the subscribe button, and if it's not grayed out, that means you are not subscribed. So please do that. And if you enjoyed it and you have friends that are interested in some of the same things you are, maybe let them know, and they can hang out with us next Friday. Thanks, everyone. Have a great one. Take care.
Good night, ladies.
Good night, sir.
Hit it, sweetheart.